Yep. Hey, what's going on, party people? Now, if this is your first time here, welcome. It's definitely a great pleasure to have you guys here. Hope everybody had a great Cinco de Mayo yesterday. I mean, shit, that was a long weekend for me, baby. But anyway, welcome. It's definitely a great pleasure to have you here. I go by the name of L'Esprit. I am a spiritual healer. And essentially, as a spiritual healer, what I do pretty much is that I help people to attain their highest level of consciousness. Now, what that means, it simply means, I help you to become, let's just say, Christ like, or Buddha like, or Krishna like, Muhammad like, and what you see, let's just say, for lack of better terms, when we're talking about those spiritual healers, what they truly represent, they represent anybody who has inherently or who has done, the divine work within them or who have attained that highest level of consciousness. That's why you'll see if you learn anything about any one of them. I mean, any one of these leaders, let's just say, story. Siddhartha, he was that before he became the Buddha. Jesus before he became Jesus Christ. He was Jesus the Nazareth, or however you like to claim him. Krishna, pretty much the same idea here. So what you see, if you know anything about their story, you'll see, people who have evolved. You can see their trials and tribulations, the things they had to overcome, the things they had to go through, but most importantly, who and what they have become. And that's what makes them, let's just say, the Christ. That's what made Siddhartha became the Buddha, Krishna, Muhammad, tomatoes, tomatoes. So ultimately, these figures, what they represent pretty much is anybody that has attained or, their godhood, who knows so much or who become very close to who they are, who have the ability now to see the bigger picture. They have attained their highest level of consciousness. Now they know a lot about who they are, because that's technically what it comes down to. This whole thing is about you knowing who you are. And that's what you see, Jesus did, Buddha did. And that's why a lot of these people, they all do the same work ultimately, which is bringing you closer to God, or helping you to attain your highest level of consciousness. Now, how do we get there? Well, personally, I help you to become also, my way of going about it pretty much is to help you to become mentally and emotionally balanced. That would be the foundation. Because for you to see the bigger picture or to attain the highest level of consciousness, even about yourself, you would need to be in balance. It's the whole idea of, let's just say, mind, body, and soul. They all have to become in alignment. But that can only happen if you are mentally balanced and emotionally balanced. Now, what do I mean by, let's just say, when we're talking about being emotionally balanced? Well, when I'm referring to you being emotionally balanced, what I'm referring to at this point, or at any point, it's you understanding your own emotions. This is not you rejecting or refuting your emotions. This is you facing your emotions head on. You understanding how you feel, you understand the message in it, being, or understand your emotional patterns. And at that point, if there's any type of blockages, then you have the ability to adjust it. That's what being emotionally balanced is. So, in other words, and I know in most cases, people think, let's just say, it's not to raise your voice. Or a lot of people tend to look at it that way, right? Not raising your voice, or, you being a little bit quiet. Like, none of that shit, or not to say certain words, none of that shit has nothing to do with you being emotionally balanced. In fact, being emotionally balanced is you using your emotions at 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 the best, at their best, to your benefit. Because anytime we become emotionally unbalanced, your emotions is working against you, or vice versa, or you working against your emotions. And a lot of times that happens due to ignorance, or maybe to or pain. A lot of us sometimes when we get hurt, we become closed off instead of, you know, stay open. Instead of learning the situation for itself, for what it is, we always think, it's me. I mean, you're taking accountability, which is good, but the type of accountability that you're taking, it's almost like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, we don't get to see things fully for what they are. Again, you're being emotionally blinded, especially when you're not emotionally balanced. But a lot of that has to do with you coping with your emotions, understanding your emotions, and in the occult, that's why we talk about something called the shadow work. And what that entails is everything I just said. It's just pretty much you assessing your own emotions and truly get to the needy, like to the bottom of, okay, how did he get to be this way? That's the work. That's how you become emotionally balanced. Now, once you understand that, then obviously now you're going to partake in your emotional pattern. Then at this point, you have the ability to, remove any type of blockages or express yourself if you choose to. But nevertheless, you understand why you're doing everything that you're doing. You're not being triggered, like, just like I always like to let niggas know. Like, sometimes you gotta let a nigga know. If you gotta let a motherfucker know, you let a motherfucker know. Like, don't hold that shit in. Not to raise your voice. No, I mean, you doing it peacefully. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know for me, like, this is not a back and forth. This is not us going like. This is not a response. This is a statement. Do you see what I'm saying? You just gotta let a nigga know. I mean, just like anger too, you gotta use your anger sometimes, man. I mean, there's nothing wrong with not using your anger. Nah, that's not true. There's some shit you gotta be mad about. Injustice. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, there's some shit. Come on. Just like when Jesus went into the temple, was pretty much trying to chase these people out because they were using the name of God to make money, whatever the fuck. He was mad. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was. I mean, that didn't mean he lost his mind. You know what I'm saying? But there are people who act that way who have lost their mind, and the difference would be in when people are being triggered. Like, now at this point, you know what I'm saying, you doing this because somebody must have hit your button. Do you see the difference? Versus you now, letting a nigga know. But anyway, so again, that is the reason why. And if anything, not raising your voice or anything, it has more to do with deceiving other people, or even better yet, deceiving yourself. Now, of course, we all know not all truth needs to be said. Sometimes you may choose to, but again, it's you know, you are in control, emotionally in control. You know what I'm saying? I may choose to answer, I may choose not to answer, but it's not because of what you say. In fact, you're not even worth it. Do you see what I'm saying? So being emotionally balanced has absolutely nothing to do with pretending to act a certain way, but it truly has to do with you, the actual connection or how connected you are to your own emotions. That's pretty much, and how you, and the ability to manage it. That's technically what that is. So now, in addition to that, and as you can see, as I talked about earlier, right, in terms of how, it's important for your emotions and your mental to be in alignment so you can see the bigger picture, because we talked about being too emotional, right? So it triggered, it pretty much, it doesn't allow you to see the bigger picture, right? But anyway, so now going back to, now we already addressed how I would assist you to become emotionally balanced, or what I meant by it. Now, in addition to that, I also talked about you becoming mentally balanced. Well, what that means at this point is that it's you being aware of your mind, how your mind works, how your mind is being conditioned, and how is it being influenced by external matters. It's your business to understand, as an American, you think a certain way. You have to spot that. Not saying there's anything good or bad, but for you to be in control of your own mind for the sake of yourself. That's why I always tell people, well, let me just use that example on me. Like, I know how to be Haitian without being Haitian. And what that means pretty much is, okay, I was born there. There's certain things I understand how, I was conditioned to think, the culture, the food, and all that shit, but at the same time, I'm not boxed in it to a point where, I'll be like, you know what, I'll never try, let's just say, Italian food or Greek food, because that's the only thing I know. And again, every culture is going to be biased, because just because it's everything, and come on, man, like, I don't think I even need to talk about this. Every culture, your shit is going to be better than that, than this thing. I mean, it's chaotic. How do you remove yourself out of that misery, or that, I mean, bondage? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I identify myself with the whole fucking world, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm too big to just be Haitian. Like, I just wouldn't be fair to myself. You know what I'm saying? But again, I'm saying all of that when you understand how your minds work, and I'm also was saying that because I could, my nigga, like, my mind. I mean, there's so much I could learn. It could be expended. It could be conditioned. So for you to become aware of that, or to become mentally balanced, you have to be aware of all these things. You have to be aware of how society is influenced the way you think. Why do you see life the way you see it? Well, you've been trained to look at it this way. And that's what those institution does. They condition you to think a certain way. And that's why you'll see, regardless of all the bullshit you guys are talking about, it's the same structure. It's the same regardless on how untrue we know certain things not to be. Guess what? It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? The institution is there. And that's why I always tell people too, when you have institutions, there's no change. I mean, I don't think I need to tell you that. That's what you also saw with fucking Obama, right? The only change was this nigga was just talking some nigga shit, meaning it's gonna be a nigga president. That's the only change. But other than that, every institution, for them to survive, they gotta have, what I'm saying, like, there's what do you call that? I think there's a terminology. I mean, their whole existence, even survival, it's out of what's the word here? Some sort of establishment. It has to be, what I'm saying, it's figure out. I mean, there's a business term, or there's a fucking accounting term, and that's what. Anyway, make, what I'm saying. I hope you kind of get the point. But I was saying all of that to say, you have to be aware of how your mind is being conditioned, because that's really what it comes down to. And everything you pretty much come in contact with, I mean, there's a certain way, like if you want to talk about the political parties, well, they train you to see life a certain way. It's two ways for you to look at life. You see how big life is? Well, when it comes to vote and it's only two ways you you can actually look at it. Silly. Now that well, I mean, I'm not even sure if it's silly. I mean, depending on who's actually listening, to me it is. Anyway, doesn't matter. And understanding our culture too. Like, there's so many things in our culture that is also blinding us within the culture. And one of that example is marriage. A lot of us, we always look at marriage like, it's so divine. Now, if you're referring to the ritualistic part of it, maybe, the ceremony, you walking down the aisle and all that shit, okay, if that's what you want to call that part, you want to call it, let's just say divine, okay, fine. But, I mean, but other than that, that shit is a contract, babe. You know what I'm saying? You locking in. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We're talking about legal shit here. That's what that shit is. Now, why do we associate it with love? That's a cultural shit. Other cultures, and for me, when you understand love, I mean marriage, you look at it as a contract. Maybe it's not so much of a bad idea to have somebody to negotiate it for you. And besides, isn't that what you guys were talking about? What marriage it takes for you to, what I'm saying, to make the marriage work out. So you're gonna have to come to a fucking understanding with this motherfucker, regardless. Anyway, do you see what I'm saying? Because if you don't have that type of fucking understanding, maybe sometimes you might want to take love. That's why it takes more than just love. Understanding has to come in. But anyway, I'm saying all of that to say, I mean, when we're looking at what it really takes for marriage to actually work out, I mean, it's more than just love. So if there's somebody, it's what I'm saying, you're gonna need a companionship, right? That's truly what it comes down to. But within our own culture, we are blinded by it because even in our culture, we sin is one thing, but our reality, our actuality is totally different. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because what's really is the difference? Let's just say with somebody who's married, somebody who's not married. It's the legal documentation, bro. Nothing else. Then you could walk around and say, "This is my wife." The legal documentation, the contract. Again, this is not me saying I'm for or against. It has nothing to do with that. All I'm saying is, here we are within our culture, living one reality, but yet our thinking is just elsewhere. So we are, I mean, within the culture in itself, we're like blinded in it. That's crazy. And because we associate love with marriage, guess what? The idea of arranged marriage would make you feel a certain way. Again, the way you've been conditioned to see things. And then, whereas if you were to do a little bit of research, and then you'll find out most of those marriages they last for a very long time, and these motherfuckers are happy because now, let's just say if they didn't love each other, well, they used everything else, which is understanding, patience, whatever the fuck else that it takes. Sometimes you gotta bite your tongue, vice versa. Whatever the fuck else that it takes, they know how to handle that. I mean, the shit's already arranged anyway. But the reason of it being arranged is we're talking about the negotiations here. That's why you have an elder that would come in and negotiate the terms because they understand. Listen, this is a business. You don't have enough experience as a son or as my daughter, because you don't know. I mean, you really don't know yet. Shit, I was 23, 24. In my eye, I think I was still a dumbass. Can you imagine? Like, if, come on, man, like, it's, no. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm saying that to say, like, there's certain things that, you're not going to know. It might be in your best interest to have somebody. Anyway, I'm saying all of that to say, pretty much, the misconception due to our culture. So the reason why it's important for you to understand a lot of these things because there's a lot of bias in everything. And if you don't see the biasness in it, then your mind you will be conditioned to think about it that way. That's like a motherfucker who was raised to be racist. It's like motherfucker, like your mind is conditioned. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, in a nutshell, that's pretty much what I do. So I help you to attain your highest level of consciousness, and I help you to do so by helping you to become mentally and emotionally balanced. So now, if you're coming back, you already know what's up. It's always a pleasure to have you guys back. What I do is for you, baby. You know what I'm saying? It's always gonna be for you. So nothing but love. You know what I'm saying? You know exactly what. Come on, man. Get your plate. You know what I'm saying? I got it for you. Now, as part of my process, if you're coming back or if this is your first time, I always like to take the time and talk about spirituality real quick, right? And I'm not gonna be too long on that because time is damn Jesus. Anyway, and the whole purpose of me talking about spirituality is because as a spiritual healer, spirituality is the foundation. It's the foundation. It's the knowledge that I use for me to even talk to you. Like that is my backbone. This is the dictionary. This is where the knowledge comes from. Now, so as a result, it's only right for me to, I guess, as part of my, I guess, process, but also as part of my credentials. Spirituality is pretty much the whole purpose of this conversation. But most importantly, the things that I'll be talking about and the way I will address them too, it's all spiritual. So when we're talking about spirituality, what are we talking about then? We're simply talking about you, your life. Spirituality is the story of the spirit. It's the story of humanity as a whole. What we do, how we learn, how different cultures have different gods, but nevertheless, at the end of it all, they all have a god, and that's when now spirituality now is addressing, like it's. I mean, it's all of it and more. Because in spirituality, I'll give you a perfect example. We always say, you know, you act like your God. And what that means is, you are a direct representation. You act it out in your life. When you see a Christian, for instance, talk about the Bible, they always refer to the Bible as they talking about the Bible. They want to spread the gospel. This is everything that is mentioned in their manual. There's no other God besides it's only one God. So when they talk to you, they project that on you. Again, their behavior is a direct representation of their God, of the way they see things. We're not saying this is good or bad. I want you to understand it. And of course, someone, let's just say, who's into uh, um, Buddhism or Hinduism or any other religion, right? They act in accordance of what their manual or manuscript is telling them. That's why when it really comes down to it, like I always tell people, mythology is the highest form of mind control. But now us, obviously, that shit came from us in terms of, niggas. To be to be frank, you know what I'm saying. When you go to fucking Africa, you learn about the fucking Egyptians and all of that shit. You know, we use mythology as well, and those were actually used. And there's no religion that do not have it. You gotta have it. Just like, and that's what I'm gonna be talking about tonight too. Like our purpose. Your purpose is to attain, God consciousness. You have no other purpose in life. But anyway, let's go back to spirituality for a second. If if I decide to become a 7 day Adventist today, my Saturday is gonna be very much different from your Saturday. So through God, I'm creating my reality. So to say that you act like your God, that's what that means. So that's why it's important for you to understand that. We're not even talking about this is what you believe in, this is the real name, because ultimately, what the real name is doesn't really matter. Is it God? Is it Yahweh? Is it whatever the fuck, yay? You know what I'm saying? Kanye. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately, that's what you're gonna be doing. Call it whatever you like. Call it Allah. Call it whatever the fuck. It's just a name. But what it means, it's the same thing. So this is very important because like just like the Kabbalion says, if you understand the mental intelligence of the universe, oh man, I mean you there because by seeing that, hopefully the next step is for you to see yourself, and there's a direct connection between you and the universe and everything else around you too. So again, going back to again when we're talking about spirituality, it's truly it's that's why it's not a belief system because it doesn't matter if you believe in Muhammad, if you know what I'm saying, that's not what the gist of what we're talking about here is. It's your higher self. It's your story, the story of humankind. I mean, we could say people in the East, that's what they believe in. This is their God. People in the West, you know what I'm saying, or people in fucking Asia. But ultimately, this is the story. I mean, this is our story. So spirituality is your regular life. Now you have something called the occult. Now the occult is a like I like to describe it. It's what I call esoteric knowledge, right? It's the practical side of what spirituality is. With the occult, or as you can see, the hermetic, you know what I'm saying, they use the term of like it's always closed. You know the mystery schools and all of that shit. You'll see, or mysticism. All of these terms, what this is referring to, it's the dark side of yourself or the non-physical aspect of you. So now that's why when I always tell people some of the basic things. If you're just now getting into the occult, some of the basic things would be they will teach you is for you to identify your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And of course, you will get to identify what your third eye is, your chakras, ultimately, all this is doing is bringing your consciousness into the darkness. Another way of saying this would be is to get you into out of the in the darkness, then out of the darkness, which is those things that you didn't know about yourself, you bring these things to light. In other words, I didn't know I had a third eye. That shit could have been dormant in me, or my chakras could have been dormant. Now, in the occult, we teach you to acknowledge these things and how to actually regulate them or to tap into them. So, to me, that's why the occult, that's why I call it the esoteric knowledge, because that's the knowledge that this is the type of knowledge addressing what you don't see or that other side of you. And it's the occult, which is a hidden culture, not because it's being, hidden away from you, but it's because you have to look for it. It's not right in front of you. You have to delve into yourself. It's not a surface type of knowledge. That's why it's esoteric. It's not to be taken literally. And that's what you also see in the Bible. And even if you're talking about Jesus or anybody for that matter, first of all, like to talk of anyone or to know who anybody is, it's not to look at them from a fucking external perspective. That's why, in fact, I was having this conversation with a friend of mine. It doesn't make sense. Even I don't need to know history. I don't need to know none of that shit. It doesn't make sense. Even if there was a physical Jesus, I can't go by that physical Jesus. It wouldn't make sense because it would limit it. Even us, right? Even let's just say if we want to talk about Tupac, yeah, you could say he was born in New York. He's a nigga. He lives in California, West Side. He did music. You could say all these things about him, but who was he though? It wasn't where he came from that made him who the person that he was. I mean, it may have a fucking influence on that, but you know him, or we all know him for who the fuck he was. Freedom fighter, um, outlaws. You know what I'm saying? I mean, all that is referring to, again. Well, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna say that. But I'm saying all of that to say, even let's just say if let's just say 20 years from now, right? He's in the history book. Yeah, we could say these things about him, but it's really not gonna matter. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, even if you just tell me, let's just say Jesus was a Jew. Okay, but he's not known because he was a Jew. So, so again, even to know somebody, for me to get to know you, I mean, yes, I know what you look like. Yes, that's part of it. But there's more to you than what you look like. So ultimately, to get to know you, it's really what you're about, your frequency. Do you see what I'm saying? So even from that particular perspective, and and that's how we know everybody for who the fuck they are, isn't it not? So I'm saying that to say again, even in our own essence, we are a living mind. We can only go as far as who we are, and I just don't want to jump too much ahead of because I'm gonna be addressing that later on. But I mean, when you look at when you take everything, we strip everything, like our life is based on what we know. There was a guy, Robert Kiyosaki. He had a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. What he was doing there is opening up your consciousness. It's helping you to be aware of the differences. Excellent storyteller too. I mean, I'm not sure if that was true or not, but the way he put that, again, it doesn't even fucking matter. It's still gonna be in a fucking mythology form. And that's why we also use mythology too, because that's how we can learn, that's how we connect. That's why you need God. You gotta have something higher than you, because that's how you operate. And there's no fucking, call it demon, call it Satan. There's no fucking nation or humankind or human being that walked this earth without acknowledging God or a higher power. It's in us. So that's why some people get stuck in what type of God, this is the true God. Other guys, you missed the whole point. You're looking at it wrong. Because regardless of the true name or not, your reaction is either going to be the same or is it going to change? How is your God making you better? Because that's pretty much what it comes down to. See, that's why your purpose, when you understand your nature, again, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I don't want to jump, you know what I'm saying? Let's okay, let's slow it down for a second. Let me slow it down for a second. So, and then now you have the occult, going back to the occult now, which is the manual, the understanding. You know, when you read, I strongly recommend the Kybalion, the seven Hermetic principles, because this book is about self mastery. For you to understand, it gives you a lot more detail on how to understand the mental intelligence of the universe, but most importantly, yourself. These laws that they talk about are a reflection of you. When you understand polarity, this is all about helping you to master yourself, the law of correspondence, understand how you work. Now, you may have one thing in mind, but if you don't understand what's taking place in the inside, check out the outside. Because as it is within, so it is without. Again, this is to serve you. These laws are, those are your key to self mastery. And then they also talk about the law of gender, which you have both gender and you. Mastery. And ultimately attaining your highest level of consciousness, it's self mastery, man. More self aware. I'm just trying to set you free. But you can only do it, again, I'm all over the place here. But let's just go back again to spirituality, your life. So you have the occult now that is giving you a deeper understanding of what this reality is. The Indian call this world Maya, which means a world of illusion. So when you understand that, again, this is just to show you how spirituality is your regular life. When you look around you, everything is a fucking illusion. A bitch with a fat ass. Yeah, after you come, what can you really do with a fat ass, nigga? I'm not telling you not to go for no fucking fat ass. I mean, have a fat ass all day long. But if that's what your only criteria is, it's a fucking illusion. Even to get into a fucking relationship with someone else, both of you have to open up. Do you see what I'm saying? You would have to open up to love. Both of you would have to. One person cannot do it if the other one is not open to love. And if you have a relationship that comes, I mean, trust and believe, well, there's a few things you may still need to learn. But the bottom line is this: there is more to what we appear to be. And ultimately, as the Kabbalion describes us as a living mind, we are energy or spirit. You know, you could be walking by someone, they could feel the heat. There's so many different things in you. Then the body becomes just a form. And then we also know too, that's why we talk about ancestors, you talk about paranormal activities. So we are living in a world where you know there's more to what it looks like. Niggas be talking to spirit. Like, I know for me, I have mediumship ability. So that's why for me, like, you can't tell me nothing about fucking death. Like, it's just a separation between your body and the fucking spirit. So for you to be part of this world, you take on a form. This is a plane. This is the physical plane. That's why we are on each one of those levels. But anyway, that's down the line. But all I'm saying here is that there is more to what we appear to be. Again, when it all said and done, it's like, the only people who don't see how they relate to spirituality. Oh, well, that would be a lot of people, but it's due to ignorance because you don't know what your essence is. And again, going back to us understanding how we are being conditioned to think, when you become mentally balanced, one of the things that you will learn is about society, how you've been conditioned to live your life. You've been trained to live your life based on who you should be. Not on who you are. Now your self-image becomes your self-esteem. And when you see people who are being triggered, people who are seeking for validation, that's what the system, it's not a coincidence. It's doing what it's supposed to do. That's why when you see in a lot of those movies, even when they talk about Neo, Neo is an anomaly. You have to understand that. Like me bringing this information to you, I am what you would say a fucking anomaly. That's why I don't even criticize the system. I tell you, based on how you're being shaped, that's what you're gonna get, and that's what it is. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's why the whole thing, it's not about how much you see, but how are you looking at it? I'm trying to get you the right vision, the right perspective. That's all you need. And the right perspective is to be born again. It's to see it from that perspective, from a spiritual perspective, which is your true essence. And again, the whole conversation is funny how I always take a minute to describe spirituality, but everything that we're saying is all spirituality. Or I'm saying it's all spirituality. Because the essence of the conversation, the foundation or the baseline of the conversation involves truly our essence. hmm Like when you tell people, man, like, or anybody that you know, I mean, to change your life, you got to change your thoughts, right? And by thoughts, we're not talking about an idea. We're talking about your level of intelligence, the way you see things. So again, when it all said and done, we get down to the nitty gritty about who the fuck we are. I mean, the I think the Kabbalion sums it up beautifully by letting you know that you are a living mind, i.e., spirit. So to speak of spirituality and everything that I'll be talking about here is of your essence. So it's really talking about you. But out of ignorance, a lot of people, because due to how you were trained to look at yourself, you don't see the connection between you and fucking spirituality. You know what I'm saying? You always feel like spirituality is actually it's outside of you. I was just checking on the time. God damn, this shit's flying. So let's get to it. So the purpose of your life is for you to attain God consciousness. I felt like in so many ways, just by mentioning that alone, if you've been paying attention to everything that pretty much we were all talking about here, in terms of even our essence, to understand who we are, like it's for you to thrive as a person. Just like you wash your ass, you take a shower, it's also important for you to feed your mind. And these are all parts of you. Now, in other words, what this is saying is for you to be a better human being, you have to feed the God in you. Because when it comes when it comes down to everything, we are consciousness. Now, attaining your highest level of consciousness, that's what we're talking about here. That's what you should be thriving for. I mean, your life has no other purpose besides that. Because as you can see, right, the way, for us to elevate in mind, in life, you can't go any further than 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 your consciousness or your level of understanding in life. When you have a guy like Robert Kiyosaki who's trying to help you to understand the differences between, let's just say, poor dad and rich dad, he's trying to get you to acknowledge what it takes for you. He's giving you the sight in terms of if you're looking to manifest or if you're looking to expand your consciousness, this is how you got to change your thinking or elevate your consciousness. He's awake. What I love about this book is that he's putting you in a position where you have to discern, and that right there, there's nothing like it, because ultimately that's what you want. You want to elevate yourself to a point where you know how to discern, or you understand the wisdom of discernment, because you gotta have it. Because what discernment does is that, but for you first, you would have to attain that level of consciousness that gives you that critical thinking that allows you, not to take anything for face value, but to look at it in a way that it's not presented, it's not being presented to you. Do you see what I'm saying? And in actuality, the more a person know, the more that's why they say knowledge is power, right? It gives you more ability, but those ability, they would have to be materialized. Again, we are all sin. Everything that I'm saying here, it's all like because I always tell people, man, the word's got to be made flesh. Your spirituality has to be materialized. In other words, that's why Jesus has to descend before you go up. What all of this is showing here, just like we say, well, knowledge is potential power, right? Most people would say that because you understand, you have to apply it. But how do you apply the knowledge if you don't become the knowledge? So again, in actuality, that's why I always tell people the way we work, I mean, the way you function, there's no way for you to be Jesus like if you don't act like Jesus, if you don't think like Jesus, if you don't become Jesus. What makes a wise man is because he becomes the knowledge. Let me say that again. You become the knowledge. So when you understand that, only then at this point you truly understand that, let's just say, the Bible or any other, let's just say, esoteric or mythology book is there to serve you. The whole idea of having Jesus in the form of a human, it's a representation of the spirit that you carry. So for you to understand it, I have to put it to you in human form. But unfortunately, a lot of us get lost. Now you're talking about which one was he black, was he white, Yeshua, like it doesn't fucking matter. Besides, the Jesus story is not that only Jesus story. It was told many years before. And it was told in different ways. So you're looking at the wrong shit. You're looking at the wrong shit. I mean, what are you even looking at? What are you even looking at? All right, let's just say Jesus was black. And would that Jesus make you any better? Is Jesus' skin color would make you any better, nigga? Help me out. You know what I'm saying? So again, even when we look at each other too, man, like who you are is gonna be who the fuck you are, man. You know what I'm saying? If you that dude, man, I don't give a fuck if you white, yellow, whatever the fuck, you gonna be that. Oh, you better be that, by the way. If you choose not to be that. You know what I'm saying? But again, all of this is referring to again, like your purpose, even as a human being. Now, going back to Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Because I don't even want to take it that far. Just for you in life, I'm trying to show you how important knowledge is or information is. Why? Because you and information kind of go hand in hand. No one goes beyond. I mean, you can't accomplish anything that's beyond your knowledge or your understanding. I mean, of course. I mean, there's gonna be some unknown factor, but when you know where you're going, you have that perspective. I mean, come on. The universe is gonna put shit together. There's gonna be some unknown factor. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is it's in terms of your understanding. Everybody in life, man, like you can't go, like you can only go as far as your knowledge. You expand your knowledge. That's why people are able to change their lives because they have expended their fucking knowledge. I mean, you could call it whatever the fuck you like, but if you sit down with fucking Jay Z, this nigga would drop some knowledge on your ass, or whoever the fuck else, for that matter. I mean, I'm just trying to make a point to let you know. I'm not saying the money that's what make them think that way. In fact, I mean, it could be the opposite again, and that's why I always tell people too: fame, money, and all that shit always secondary. And a lot of these motherfuckers that would tell you the same. They were rappers. They used to do shows for free. They had to freestyle, go to different places, whatever the fuck. And then the fame and everything else always secondary. You always got the work's got to be. You got to put the work in first. That's your seed. So I'm saying that to say one, you can't make money just to make money. You got to give something. But most importantly, what I'm also trying to say here is that like your life is confined by you. You know what I'm saying? Your fear could actually limit your life. That's why it's important for you to again become emotionally balanced, to self assess yourself, address your issues, because your life is being conditioned by your thoughts, your belief. Oh, he's remember we were saying you act like you're God. You create your own reality through your beliefs. So what spirituality now is helping you to do, or what I'm helping you to do, is to let you know that you are the creator. And guess what? Isn't that what Jesus was telling you? Or anybody else is telling you too? So again, spirituality is your fucking regular life. However you choose to dissect it, it all comes down, all of that shit now has a direct impact on your regular life. And that's why your colonizers, they understood. That's why these niggas put Jesus on you, man. Because there's a state of mind that it comes with. Obedient, obedient, obedient. Look at Jesus. There was a pastor, and I can't recall what year that shit came out. This nigga said, listen to this. This motherfucker said, Haiti's going through what Haiti's going through now. Some shit about because of voodoo. But yet, their Jesus that was enslaving you is fine. The minute you do you, oh, that's a problem. Why the fuck do you think they fight so hard to go against you, or to listen, man? Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm doing the best that I can in terms of trying to get you to realize that you are the creator, but most importantly, trying to help you to become conscious of what you call spirituality, but also of yourself. I mean, it's all one anyway. So when you understand that, right, you cannot go any further than you. So that's why it is in your best interest. That's why your business is to seek God. Because what God does for you, it expands your consciousness. What God's allow you to do is to explore potential that you may not think that you have, but through God is being manifested. And when they say, is God good all the time? Yeah, all the time. When you put God in your fucking relationship, what you're saying is, between you and your bitch, now we have something greater to look at. Not just, let's just say, my personal issues or your personal issues, but let's look at the bigger picture. So God, and no matter how you dissect it, it's needed in all aspect of your fucking life. because of what God does and represents to you. That's why you need God. You gotta have God. And I think, as my man, my fellow Haitian nigga said, you know what I'm saying, if God did not exist, it would be necessary to create him. Alexandre Dumas. I get it. It's just a must. Ever since humanity was humanity, the talk of God always existed, and that's why people also need to understand Jesus was not the only person to bring us closer to God. Moses was doing that. Anybody in the past, everybody's doing whatever the fuck. Confucius is doing that. Siddhartha is doing that. Everybody who's, let's just say, lack of better term, spiritual leaders, have always been there, to bring us closer to God. What the fuck do you think I'm doing here? By helping you to acknowledge those divine qualities in you, but most importantly, for you to spot your true essence. How is that any different? You know what I'm saying? So when you understand that kind of shit, what would it gain a man? You know what I'm saying? To have the world and then you fucking lose your soul. It all makes sense. Do you understand? You know what I'm saying? It's like having money but you have no integrity. Or having money but you don't know who the fuck you are. It's miserable. You know what I'm saying? It's that never ending cycle. Thinking money's whatever the fuck, and that's what you see. And people, this is truly what it comes down to, man. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you guys. This is what it really comes down to. At the end of it all, it's either you see yourself as God, or you look at God from being outside of you. And when you look at God as being outside of you, it doesn't work in your life. Because the way you operate, you always manifesting. You are we are all manifestors. What we see in our mind, that's what we do. Our understanding, that's what we do. You understand money is everything. Guess what? You do everything for money. That's how when we talk about changing your mind will change your life, it's that understanding, not a thought, but it's your pattern of reflection. Who you are. I mean, not necessarily who you are, because you could change, but at that level, the beholder, that's the person you need to strengthen his inner sight. But you can only do that by delving into you, knowing who you are. So when you start looking at yourself from a fucking external perspective, and by the way, that's what it means to worship idols, because the whole worshiping thing, a lot of you guys don't understand it. When you look, let's just say, when you wear Gucci and that's what you identify yourself with, that's worshiping, nigga. Because now you don't see you worshiping idol, you identify, you don't see those God qualities in you. And that's truly what it comes down to. How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself from a fucking external perspective only? Or do you see yourself from an internal perspective? And the internal perspective, I'm also including seeing yourself from the external because the external is given, right? Like we were born here is given. I already know what I look like. This is given. So looking at myself now at this point from a fucking internal perspective, that's what's gonna change the whole thing. That's what's gonna allow me to see even myself beyond what I look like. So again, it all comes down to my well-being. To be a great human being, you got to be a man of God. Only a man of God is a good human being, because a man of God who has adopted those God qualities and him or her now have the ability to transmit that to other people, to have compassion for other motherfuckers, to forgive motherfuckers, to love motherfuckers despite of their what I'm saying uh, 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 shortcomings. To see the God in them requires for you to see that in you. And that's the key. How you look at other people, you look at other people the way you look at you. And this is why everything starts with you. That's why you have to love yourself first. But most importantly, when you understand your purpose is to adopt God consciousness, then that consciousness becomes you. That's why there's no benefit in talking about Jesus if you're not being like Jesus. And we said it's the same thing with having knowledge and being wise. And it is the transformation. But for that transformation to take place, you also got to have that open heart too. Do you see what I'm saying? So when you understand, that's why this knowledge too is for the livings. What makes it for the living is the person who is transforming. The person who's not just listening to the message, but who's also applying that message into who they are. Being a man of God is not a Sunday thing. You cannot be a man of God on a weekly basis. That's why it's never gonna work. There's no transformation. Do you see what I'm saying? It's the same thing. If you're doing a diet, you're gonna have to diet more than your cheat days, right? For that to work. And that's why we say, and you don't want to do a diet. You want to change your life. Do you get it? Because what got you to where you were, it wasn't, what I'm saying, one, yeah, shit. Nigga, I remember. That was early on, way early on, like around like 21, 22, right? So, I started, what I'm saying, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna work out, lose some weight, you know what I'm saying? Make sure I get, what I'm saying, the packs and all that. Yo, Yo, my diet was the total opposite of everybody else's diet. You know what I'm saying? You see how like I had like 6 cheat days and then one day of diet. That's technically the way that I was eating. Do you see what I'm saying? And anybody who's, not in your ideal weight, whatever the fuck, well, nigga, guess what? Look at what you're doing every day. Isn't that what you're trying to change? But a lot of us, you can't just change the behavior without the thinking. That's why you got to get out of your own way. And this is where you would have to address, let's just say, your habits and all that shit. And that's where you're going to have to work with yourself. And that's why you have to embrace yourself. You got to love yourself, baby. It doesn't work any other way. And I totally get it. Do you ever notice the people who are seriously about their weight loss journey are the people who are fucking tired? And that tired, what that means is that's when you lock in. That's when you're like, no. Like, that's when now you tap in. That's why I tell people, man, don't look for willpower. It doesn't work. Align yourself with fucking success. Be abundant. And let the mystery unfold. you gotta allow the mystery, you know what I'm saying, to just do its thing. That's what stepping into the unknown also is. But most importantly, this is what, oh my God. God damn it, guys. Woo-wee. There's a lot. I mean, I'm getting a few downloads too as I'm talking to you guys. So, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Give me a break. Take it easy. But going back to understand that your purpose, like when you know your essence, you don't have any other purpose but for you to attain the God consciousness. But other like purpose can be any greater than that. When you understand, you can't make money just by making money. Even if you're a thief, man, you gotta do some shit. Isn't that what they call criminal shit? You're a criminal. You do criminal shit for money. Whatever the fuck you call it. It's service. Like, it's no way around it. You know what I'm saying? That's why you gotta find something first. Like, not just finding anything first. Like, that's why, I mean, you ought to put your heart in it. Otherwise, you know what I'm saying? It's okay. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's gonna make the difference. But that's why it's important too, man. By attaining the God consciousness, it's gonna align you to where you need to go. Because guess where that consciousness is? Within you. You know, that's why when you follow your instinct, when you follow the shit that you love, you know what I'm saying, you follow that shit. That's what your gift is. You work on it, you do whatever the fuck you gotta do, then you share it with the whole fucking world. If this is not your purpose, I mean, is there anything else? See, and here's something else too. You also gotta understand when you only seek for external shit, it doesn't fulfill. It gives you more external shit. But when you do shit from your internal perspective, that's how you become satisfied. That's when the transformation takes place. That's when, as you're going through the hard work, yeah, I mean, you're gonna get the results. That's given. I mean, we all gonna rip what we fucking sow, so the result is guaranteed. But now, The even better shit that happens with the result, or even before you get the result, is the person that you have become. Do you see what I'm saying? Like when you follow your passion, there's certain discipline. You know what I'm saying? When you look at Michael Jordan and all these guys, Kobe Bryant talking about, you know what I'm saying, the game and all that shit, a lot of you may look at it from just a basketball perspective. That shit goes deeper than that. And he knows that too. And he understands it. The same principles that it takes in life, you know what I'm saying, that they have to do, like let's just say on the basketball court or them training, it's the same thing that you have to do in life. You have to apply yourself. You gotta have discipline. You're gonna have to, you know what I'm saying, make choices. You wanna go out, or do you gonna spend some time in you working on you? You gonna suck somebody's dick, or you gonna say no, I choose me? It's the same principle, man. And you cannot accomplish anything without, you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying, in actuality, by devaluing yourself. I mean, I've never seen that. This is okie doke. I mean, I can't recall who says it, but a lot of us, we live in our fucking imagination. That is true. First of all, how the fuck you gonna live your life based on who you should be and not who you are? Do you see the disconnection in that? No wonder why you become delusional, man. You already lost. It doesn't even make sense. Like, how do you even do that? You know what I'm saying? And of course, I understand. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I went through it myself. Again, speaking of the anomaly, but here's the thing, too. I was also receptive to me. So, how do you do that? It kind of fit in, too. Right? Because I didn't get to where I am just, yeah, I mean, overnight. So I had to resist a lot of that shit, or the conflict I had to go through. You know what I'm saying? I never feeded. Like I always was like, fuck society. Like if you want to call that an outlaw, I mean that's how I can relate to it, which doesn't fucking make sense. You mean to tell me I got two eyes? This nigga could do that. I can't do it. Why the fuck not? That's the type of nigga I was. Still is. And guess what? And I noticed the same, let's just say, prototype, I guess. Or, I mean, a lot of us who have that same essence, those are the ones who actually prevails. The ones who couldn't take no for a fucking answer, not to kiss everybody else's ass, but, you know what I'm saying, like, fuck you, I'm gonna do me. Why do I have to follow you for? I mean, it's gonna be us. I mean, those of us who, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if you know, you know. Do you see what I'm saying? Like even to attain success, whatever the fuck, the same principle it'll take for you to lose weight, that's what it's gonna be for you to do anything else. So again, that has to do with you, how, where, and how you, what type of alignment. Like how, I mean, listen, it's what you make it. And no one who made it will tell you it was easy for them to make it. Let me know. Every successful motherfuckers that I know in terms of financial shit, niggas, yo, bro, I work hard, man. Yo, I remember this guy, right? Because back in the days, I was in my, because at that time, if you know, you know, there was a school on 30th and Market. That's when that's where I was going to college. I'm not gonna say no names. Hey, I don't get paid for that shit. But anyway, and I remember, because I had a job, not too far away, and after taking classes, I used to go and work and shit. I remember meeting this guy, right? When I met him, like you could tell, when you meet someone and that shit, this nigga was just, I knew he was a star, like, and I didn't know his name, wherever the fuck he came from, but you could tell that. I mean, I know I'm like, nigga, come on, stop bullshitting, right? And then I'm like, yo, I pull him to the side. I'm like, yo, I like to be like you, man. What do I need to do? Have any blessings, man? And here's something else too. That's why I never was a hater too, man. I always love people who have things that I didn't have. It was never an issue for me. Like I don't, nah. That's why a winner is a nigga who's been losing and then who try again. And again, when you understand even our essence, then you realize, just like I was talking about, like even as a toddler, if you didn't keep getting up, you wouldn't be walking right now. And that's why that Christopher Nolan and Batman began, like he had this thing where he was asking Bruce, why do we fall? We fall so we know how to get up. I love that shit. You don't fall you don't learn how to fall for you to fall down and stay down. Nah, for you to get up. Because that's how we work. That's why even when you talk about perfection in terms of being flawless, it's like it doesn't exist. What the fuck are you talking about? It's not even reality. Anybody who was ever good at any motherfucking thing, they only got there through repetition. You know what repetition means? Like you didn't get it right the first time, you do it again until you get it right, until you develop a fucking pattern, until you figure it out. And that takes repetition. That takes for you to lose. That takes for it to shoot, for it not to go in. Okay, let me do it that way. It didn't work that way. Oh, okay, then bam. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers want to have everything, but they don't want to put the work in. You want to have a six pack, but you don't want to work out, dog. What's up? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you don't have to work out. I mean, you could fast, whatever the fuck. But do you get the gist of what I'm trying to say? It's like, I mean, nigga, if you want to get tomatoes, you're gonna have to. Do you have the seed? You're gonna have to plant that shit. Then you're gonna have to water that shit. Do you see what I'm saying? And it's the same thing. That's when I came to understand that, and I got to shout out Dr. Lila Africa because he was the first brother when I heard that too, man. Because he was saying being stupid is a choice. At first, when I first hear it, it's like, ooh, it's true. It's a choice, man. I mean, if you going through 24 hours, you're not putting any type of time to cultivate your mind. I mean, all I'm saying is, in some type of way, it doesn't have for you to pick up a book. It could be, especially now they have podcasts. Me speaking right now, like there are so many different things. Like there's no excuse for a stupid motherfucker, man. I mean, of course, besides you being ignorant, especially in this day and age, man, you could Google anything, bro. You see, like in the Matrix, how Because I remember when Trinity didn't know how to operate the helicopter, and then he called the guy and downloaded. That's all you gotta do. I mean, of course, I'm not trying to make it seem that easy, but practice. Again, you don't. There's no failure. Failure does not exist. You only fail when you stop. And this is not just to say. This is not to motivate. This is just if you understand your essence, if you understand the way we operate. Because when you stop now, you know what I'm saying, the time that you needed to build on certain skill for you to, then now you definitely lost. But if you kept on going, you making your life better. You learning the skill. Just like if you know how to play the guitar, I know for me in the very beginning, man, my fingertips, my nigga. If you know, you know. That's part of the process. That's part of the process, man. And that's why I always tell people too, man. Like, yo, it's like when you understand that, but you gotta understand that though. And that type of understanding, that's what it is to adopt a God had mentality. Or better yet, let me say it for you this way. That's what it means to attain God consciousness. If you don't like the term God had mentality, I mean, you know. So again, I mean, but then again, when you also understand the impact that God has in your life, it's 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 just miracle. It's beyond words, man. And which is a little bit different from like what how let's just say religion is pretty much putting God into your life because the way they do it, it's another way to keep you in line. Not for you to explore who you are, but it's a more of a behavioral type of bullshit. And that's what their sermon, like the fucking, not sermon, like when they preaching, that's why they always talk about such and such is doing this. That's not they are addressing what's taking place in society, right? But it's more in a way of keeping you in line. It's not a coincidence too, man. Like they must be a part of the government too, right? They don't pay taxes. You know what I'm saying? They help you with mind control in terms of the way you behave, keeping you in line. You know what I'm saying? With morality and all that shit. Hey, hey. I'm just saying. Anyway, the whole conversation here, it's not even to mention that. The greater thing at stake here is for you to understand that if you to understand your essence, and by understanding your essence, then you understand your purpose cannot be anything else. Because money doesn't mean anything if you're not fulfilled, if you're not happy. Do you see what I'm saying? And this is, I mean, you have a lot of people who talks about that, man. Like niggas that came from nothing. 50 Cent. He thought having money was gonna be everything, and then when he got it, he said that's not the case. So I'm not saying this for you not to get money. That's not what it is. But when that's your only motivation, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. And Steve Harvey says something else too. Wait, a lot of you guys are talking about you want to have money. Wait until you get money. Everybody want to sue you. You know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers trying to get your money. You have niggas like that, though. I mean, they're all out there. Motherfuckers who's gonna set you up. Like, you have criminals, man. They do exist. And what they exist is they're waiting for you to get what you're gonna get for them to come after you. That's what I'm ready for. I tell them, man, come on, man, keep coming. I tell them to come closer. I'm wilding. But again, like the bottom line is this: it's like, come on, man. It's like it's more to our reality than what it looks like. And when you understand that, you also understand your essence because there is more to you than what you look like. So then, and not just that, you only get to balance this life through your divine consciousness. Because the more you know, like the better you are at life. And that's where you need to succeed. That's what Jesus meant. Like, what would it gain a man to earn the fucking world, man? To have the fucking world and then for you to lose your soul. It's like it's crazy. It's crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like if I mean, would you like to have $1 trillion and be miserable? It doesn't make sense. I mean, even this example is not making it right, but in terms of when you understand your essence, that's why a lot of people go through anxiety, man. People who has money, they also kill themselves, man. But I just don't want to say this in the sense of, I mean, it's just you knowing the truth. You gotta know the truth, man. You gotta know you. I mean, having money or not, that's why it's important for you to have a balanced head. And anybody too who wise who came to have money, they understand. And that's why Wycliffe had this line that I really love: "Play celebrity, you be R.I.P." Oh, I love that shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You pimping, you balling, all that shit. Okay. Okay, bet. Bet somebody's gonna. Hey, man, you already know. It is what it is, man. And I certainly understand a lot of us at first, you know what I'm saying? I remember when I used to hear, when I didn't know much, I remember when Big was saying more money, more problems. A lot of us were like, how would you have more money and have more problems? Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, it comes with a set of problems. The bottom line here, man, it's not to make it a money thing with versus not a money thing. It's for you to see beyond the veil. For you not to think, for you to be happy internally, that's what you need to get. And the minute you get it, and then it doesn't work that way. Because your true happiness is within. Like the peace that I have, listen, like I understand now. Because here's something else too. You have to wake up to the truth. Now I came to understand when Jesus said, I mean, when you find the kingdom of God, you sold everything that you got just for that. When I found it, that's when I'm like, oh, that's what he meant. Oh, listen, man. You got to see it for yourself. If him saying it and me saying it, and either way, you're going to have to see it for yourself. When you're at that age or that state of mind where yourself is your peace of mind. You've attained, you become in alignment with you. Oh man, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what else to say, man. You gotta see it for yourself. The peace, the fucking self confidence that it comes with, the ability to walk through the valley of the shadow of death and fear no evil, type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Or the ability that you even have. Because when you find your peace, it's not like you're not gonna have issues, you're not gonna have problems. But now it's almost like that's how you how can I say this? You come down the storm. You come the you have control over the storm when you become yourself. It's not the problem that's not around. It's you now that gives the problems a different ways. You're looking at them differently. That's the transformation that's taking place. Or what other people may call difficulties, whatever the fuck that is. Now that becomes your bitch. Then you realize it's serving me. What was the storm is no longer a storm now. It becomes your pedestal. But that only comes when you adopt a Godhead mentality. That's why in this world nothing is what it seems. So I know for some people they always say, well, how come there is a God? People are dying and all that shit. I mean, I am with you. But if your consciousness is the only thing you see about this reality, I have bad news for you, man. You got a lot of shit you need to wake up to because there's a lot more. Now, we're not neglecting this, but there's a lot more to that. And not to say anything, but sometimes there's a lot of people that you see going through some shit that you don't know what the fuck they did. That's why too, like I certainly, you know what I'm saying, like I know like you cannot help everybody, bro. There's some people you see them going through shit, you gotta tell them to be strong. Because they did it. You don't know. See again, it's not what it seems. So it's too bad if your reality it's only based on what is good, what is I mean, there's a lot more to that, my friend. There's your understanding, even what you so called bad thing out there to help you. And when you start grasping or seeing or attaining that God consciousness, then your reality or your understanding of what this reality is going to change. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, people are, hey man. And then when you start looking at, I mean, are they really dying? You know what I'm saying? Now, if we are to talk about, let's just say, but it's not just that too. Even a lot of the crimes that you actually see, they are a result of hate, man. Jealousy, envy, and it's a result of all that shit. Like I always use this example, right? When the guys who killed um, Extentacion, right? I know a lot of us will always like to say how stupid they are after they did what they did. They go on Facebook and flash that shit. I mean, again, you all right. But do you also see them seeking for validation? Do you also see a culture like the more animalistic you are, the better you are? I mean, is it possible that they may have been influenced by that? And for the most part, I would probably say yes. And that's why a lot of these motherfuckers are not true criminals anyway. That's why the true criminal wouldn't do that. Do you see what I'm trying to tell you? They're just chasing clouds. You know what I'm saying? And if that didn't happen, they'll probably take somebody else's life. Of course, that sensitivity, they don't have it because you got to be in touch with your internal side. See, when you see good in other people, you got to see good in you. See, a lot of these people, they don't see good in them. So that personal, now for you, if you're watching the trial or whatever the fuck it is, and then you see these guys making faces and or they don't give a fuck, you could say they fronting. They could be a little bit scared, yes, but for the most part, I mean, that is their ego too, because that's the only thing they know. So they gotta react that way. But you're also seeing what I'm trying to say is, like how their mind is being conditioned. And when you don't see you, you don't see God in you. Only when you see God in you, that's what the whole namaste, that's what it means. That's why the monks say namaste to each other. From the God within to the God in you. In other words, I acknowledge who you truly are, motherfucker. You can't fool me. Even when you don't know who you are. That's what the fuck the shit mean. That's what it is, man. And because of that, I'm gonna treat you a certain way, or I'm gonna treat you. I mean, like the whole thing of loving your neighbors and shit. You gotta love yourself first. I think that's the only part Jesus forgot to put in there. Well, Jesus, I got you, nigga. Because you can't do it any other way. And that's what self love is actually all about. Because it allows you to see it in you so that way you can see it in others. So people who seek for values, you gotta be valuable. So that's your essence. When you understand that about you, that's why for you to act like God, you have to become God. There's no other way around it. Anybody who would make some whatever the fuck they're saying about God or touchy, whatever the fuck, it's in them already. They're expressing it, they're displaying it. So this whole bullshit, political shit about humble and devaluing yourself and all that shit, it's okey doke. It's when you talk about supernatural, that's truly supernatural. Like I don't know. I mean, that's not even natural, so I can't even say supernatural. That's crazy, and that's why this is a mental institution, and that's why this is the land of the lost. It's not a coincidence, man. It's not a coincidence. So when you understand your essence, you understand you can only go as far as you can go. You understand how important it is to for you to be knowledgeable or for you to become wise, because you can only go as far as your life goes. Again, these are actualities. Actualities. Then only then, you know what I'm saying? Then you understand your purpose is to find God, man. and to be devoted to it too. Because your sanity comes from you delving into your spiritual qualities. And that's why a man of God cannot be a Sunday thing. It's not a weekly thing. The minute it's that, well, I mean, it's nothing. It's just a high. So now when you get around in those Sundays thing, then you kind of re-talk about it. And as you talk about it, listen, it's going to be real. You're going to feel it. This is the house of God. You're going to feel all that good shit. But the minute you leave, and that's it. That candle has to be lit in you all the time. All the time, as long as you are living. And being a man of God, the transformation, that's why this knowledge is for the livings. Because it's going to be for the ones who will understand it and apply it into their lives. That's what transformation is all about. And that's the only way you're going to attain the Christ consciousness. Because ultimately, that's where you need to go. Guess what? Your purpose is to attain God consciousness. So when you don't see life when you don't even look at life from this perspective, that's what ignorance is. You're lost. So then now, let me guess. Your interpretation of life is what? Going to school, get a degree, buy a house, hustling, or not. I mean, however the fuck you want to take a look at it, legally, illegally, like that's what your life becomes. Or getting a 401k, vote. You are making a difference. To what? What are you making a difference to? Sorry. Help! I have a question. What are you making a difference to? Even your vote don't fucking count. Like, what are you making a difference to? You know what I'm saying? What are we talking about? But if you put that energy into you or into God, oh man, listen, man, you ain't got nothing to worry about. And anyway, just so you guys know too, as a side note, you know what I'm saying? Do you see how everything's becoming vegan now? Shit, nigga, I was even shocked. They have Haitian vegan. They have a Haitian vegan restaurant. I'm like, niggas? Like, no griot, nigga? Y'all going vegan? Yep. Them niggas like, yep, vegan. I'm saying that to say, right? So, if it got to this point, I know for me as a Haitian nigga, I seen other Haitian niggas going vegan. It's like, yo, this is real. Because all the culture, everything you've been raised, I mean, fuck like outside influences in terms of all that shit. But Haitian niggas vegan? Nigga, with all the griot, all the lumbie, I mean, come on, niggas. I'm saying that to say, you are the change. The change you want to see in the world, until you become that, it means nothing. See, whoever that nigga is who opened up that vegan Haitian vegan restaurant, this nigga's the change. I know when I see it, my nigga. I'ma come holler at you, but I'm still gonna get my grill though. But I still wanna try it. Doesn't matter. Do you see what I'm saying? But the bottom line of what I'm trying to say here, and I hope you get the point, right? It's like even, with what's taking place in the market, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got more power than you think. So, you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that to say, and that's the problem. You don't even understand what's in front of you. But that's the beauty of it all. And the whole conversation is not even about veganism, non veganism, government, non government. It's all about you transforming your darkness into light, acknowledging those dormant element in you to bring him to life. And that's how you attain the Christ consciousness. And that's why you need to seek God consciousness. You don't have any other purpose than that. There's nothing greater than this. Not money, because money cannot transform that in you. The wisdom, the peace, the understanding that that shit comes with, money got nothing to do with that, dog. And I hope you guys know too, like I always tell you guys, money's a terrible master. You know how they say you don't make a housewife. Well, that's how you make sure you keep money as a whole. Otherwise, listen, look around you. I mean, I don't think I need to give you a lecture on fucking money, man. But the reason why I wanted to touch on that is because, well, that could be, I guess, the most valuable thing that people tend to look at. And again, I don't want you to get this fucked up. I'm not saying money has no value at all, but not when it comes to you. Everything is valuable in life. But when it comes to you, you are the ultimate one. Because everything stems from you. You created money. Money didn't create you, nigga. So again, a lot of us are worshiping idols. And you don't understand the science behind the statues. But that would be for another lecture. I think I'm gonna leave it here. But anyway, again, it all your purpose. There's nothing else but you being devoted to your higher self or to God, because that's the only way you're gonna balance your life. That's the only way you're gonna be a better human being. That's the only way you want love. You're gonna find it. Whatever the fuck you want, that could be healthy. You see those God prince, those divine qualities in you, then you see it in other people. And there's nothing like, even when you gonna be with a bitch that you love and you love that bitch, nigga. Being broke means nothing. Hell, having money means nothing neither. I mean, shit, you're gonna take advantage of it. Why the fuck not? But not a determining factor. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, and that's what we're saying. It's not to ignore, let's just say, having money and what it brings. That's not what we're saying here. But what we're saying is understanding what it brings and what it cannot give you. And that's when, the whole discernment, that's when you knowing who you are, your essence. And just like, again, too, and anybody who's making money too, I mean, they use their gifts. I mean, you could choose to suck dick, or you could use your gifts. To give is to receive. So again, like, how do you take yourself out? Like that, I mean, there's no equation without you, and definitely without God, because I mean, you validate God anyway. But anyway, we're gonna leave it here. That's the message. Always remember, always go within so you don't go without. But most importantly, understand the remedy of the pain is in the pain. And also, for you to be you, nobody else could be around. And if you're gonna be, I mean, that's just the way it goes. You already know, Aisha.